All right, all right. Welcome to the NASCAR Nuts and Bolts podcast. We're hitting you with episode 11 tonight. Boys, we are in, we're out of 10. Now we're in our second, what do you call it? Second 10 here. And I'm ready to go for episode 11. I'm ready to go all in like Denny Hamlin and the 11 FedEx team, man. What y'all got?
Well, I'm doing good, and another week, and another week, another race, and nothing really much to add. We'll be at Bristol this weekend. Hope it doesn't wash. Hope it doesn't rain too bad, and I hope we can get a race in on Sunday. So, looking forward to being out there for that and watching a good race.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped for Bristol. This is my first time I've ever been to Bristol, so I'm looking forward to it. Do you know what the weather's looking like for Sunday? I haven't looked at it in a few days.
I try not to check it, but I peeked at it today. It's kind of up and down. One minute it's like 50% chance of rain on Sunday, and then another one's got like 30% chance that morning, and then the next one has no rain at all, just cloudy skies for Sunday, and then it's like Saturday it's gonna rain regardless, and it's TBD. I say we probably won't get a clear answer till Thursday or Friday, but fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and Thomas, I just pulled it up on Weather Channel app, which is probably the most unreliable for me. I'd rather have checked AccuWeather myself, but it's showing right now 57% chance of rain on Sunday and cloudy and 24% on Monday. So, like Kaleb said, I tell you, when we went into the fall playoff race last year, it was supposed to rain all day.
That's right.
And something about the precipitation when it hits those mountains, man. We only got just lightly sprinkled on for a couple minutes, and that was it the whole time. So there's no telling, to be honest with you. But all right, well, yes, we are ready to go, ready to all three. This is our first race of the year where we're all three together, so I'm pumped
That's right.
about that. Um, Anything y'all got for the intro?
I mean, nothing really. Bristol this upcoming weekend, and we'll be handing out these to some listeners and whatnot. So we're looking forward to meeting some of our listeners and gaining new listeners and whatnot. So it'd be pretty cool to do that. So I ain't really got much.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Thomas? You got anything for an intro?
No, I don't.
Well, I got one thing, fellas, I want to do before we get into our show.
Let's
I'm
hear it.
wearing my William Byron stuff today. Um, as you can see, I got a hat and I got the newest Daytona 500 champion shirt on for those watching on YouTube. So you got me thinking. Um, and I wanted to ask you guys a question in the intro. It's basically if your favorite driver didn't exist, who would be your number one driver? Who would you have to pick? So
Ooh.
basically, Kaleb, if we could just wave a magic wand and there was poof, no Chase Elliott number 9 Napa team, who would you? What hat would you be wearing right now, man?
I think me and you briefly had this conversation once before. Um, and that's a good question because I'm kind of I'm kind of biased here. I guess Thomas can relate to this too. Growing up in that period where we had Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., and all those guys. Because once Jeff Gordon retired, I didn't even root for Chase when he got to the 24. So that was kind of tough for me. I mean, kind of just kind of bitter that Jeff retired, but I don't really know. That's a good question. Now, I mean, honestly, if Kyle Larson was still in the 42 with Ganassi and Ganassi was still think, honestly, I would probably do Larson in
Wow,
that aspect. In that aspect, I know
wow.
I sound like a hypocrite, but hey, I had to give credit where credit's due. The talent was there, and I just. But then Chase went to the 9, and it kind of create his own thing with the 9. So I was like, I can get behind that instead of the 24. So that's what
Fair
I got to
enough.
say.
Fair enough, man. Thomas, what do you got, man?
Well, I mean, I'm a Chase Elliott fan now, but if he were to disappear, I don't honestly. There's quite a few drivers, honestly, that I could probably get behind and feel confident in. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Denny Hamlin. I mean, I pull for him every week. I mean, I don't, obviously I pull for Chase over Denny, but um, I always like to see Hamlin do good. So if I had to pick one outside of Chase, it'd probably be Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I kind of figured you would say that, but um, as you get older, like me, I don't really pull against anybody too hard anymore, man. I used to do that when I was younger, but yeah. So like Jeff Gordon retired, I had my eye on Larson. Basically kind of hooked on to him, and then never really pulling against Hendrick at all. They still had Jimmy there, they still had Chase in the 24, and even obviously Junior. We're all big Junior fans, no matter what. So definitely was pulling for him for that year or two, even when he was hurt. So yeah, I guess kind of in limbo, but really paying attention to that 42 Ganassi team. And at that time, Kyle Larson was really struggling to get a win and get wins.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't coming easy like they do or seem to do now. So
no, but he could go to Michigan and whip everybody's butt. I know that.
Oh yeah. They, that's the back in the days of 2 Mile Kyle. They used to call him Montana, Michigan. Yeah, he was tough on those tracks, but yeah. So I mean, and again, I mean, I don't pull against any Hendrick driver, full disclosure. But if Kyle Larson, him going to the 5 really solidified. Not that I had any doubt, but that I always, back before 2020, I was just hoping that could happen when Jimmy retired. He'd go to 48, but it worked out just a little bit different way. But anyways, yeah, if he was not on the face of the earth, I would probably. Man, it's hard because like William Byron was coming up at that time, when Gordon retired. So Charlotte kid, it's kind of why I'm wearing the William Byron stuff today, because that's probably who I would be, and especially him getting into the 24, that would have solidified it for me. Because like you and Thomas, I would just a huge Jeff Gordon fan in the 90s and 2000s and beyond. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I think the listeners hear us talk, pretty favorably, I would say, about just about all the drivers. But I do think maybe a few of them we have, a little bit of criticism for every now and again. But I'll say, that it's kind of interesting to play that what if game. But all right, if we got a Kyle, that would be interesting if on this show if we had 2 Kyle fans. But then that kind of takes away.
Don't do that to me. Don't.
Yeah, I know. Kind of takes away the fun. But anyway, let's move on to our racing rundown, boys. I want to talk about this Phoenix race a little bit and get your perspectives on it. So I'm going to kick it to Thomas first. What did you think about this race, bud?
I mean, to be honest, it was disappointing. I mean, about an hour or so before the race, I was listening to the Sirius XM broadcast. I just happened to be in the car, so I was listening to it, and I'm not exactly sure who was talking at that segment I was listening to. I believe it was Christopher Bell, but I could be wrong. But he was saying how the fans shouldn't expect to see anything different with the new package, and that they made the point basically saying that if NASCAR didn't say anything, if NASCAR didn't tell you, then nobody would know, nobody would be able to see anything different. And that couldn't have been more true. I mean, I watched the race. It was not very good, I mean, overall. But I mean, I did want to point out how Reddick was fast at some points during the race, and he was able to pass a little bit, but after a while, when tires were on a little bit, he was kind of struggling like everybody else. And also wanted to point out how Truex didn't pit at one point and led a little bit of laps, which I enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed seeing him leading up front, which my opinion of Truex has changed a lot in the past season.
I'm shocked.
So I don't know. Overall, the race was kind of disappointing. It was all right, but I mean that's all I really got for it.
Yeah. And I'll ask real quick before I kick it to Kaleb. What changed about MTJ for you? Is there anything in specifically, or you just kind of getting
Yeah.
nostalgic with him about to leave out of the sport?
I mean, I was a Harvick fan before he retired, and I want to pull for the older drivers. And now that Harvick's retired, I feel like I should pull for Truex, and I feel like I want to support the older drivers. I know that sounds weird, but I mean, I don't know. I just starting to pull for Truex more now that he's towards the end of
Yeah.
his career, I would assume.
Now, Thomas, you say that, and Gene, you proposed that question. That's what was really like tough for me once Gordon had retired. It was like, well, dag. I mean, I kind of went from Gordon to rooting for Tony Stewart his last season, and then following 2017, rooting for Dale Jr.'s last season, then wanting to see Jimmy Johnson get that last win in 2020 before he retired. So it's really I feel that nostalgic piece with that, with trying to stay relevant. Then with Harvick in 2020 and 2021 and last season, it was pretty much solidified me rooting for Harvick those periods on, especially with still being a non-fan. So
Yeah.
that's what I had on that.
Yeah. And, before I get to you, Kaleb, I'll just say that's nothing wrong with that, man. I tell you, don't be like me. When I was younger, I just pulled for Jeff Gordon. Everybody else I didn't care about. There was a period of that. But as you get older, I mean, it definitely, and you definitely see that these guys who put their heart and soul into the sport for, 15, 20 years or whatnot, it's definitely, I think, okay to do that. I mean, everybody, I think every NASCAR fan pretty much does that, right? They just, if they hated
yeah.
Rusty Wallace all his career, those last couple years, they were liking some Rusty Wallace. So,
For sure.
But anyway, Kaleb, what did you think about the race, man?
Man, I gotta say, in my opinion, it was kind of an uneventful race, and that's how it is sometimes. I mean, I didn't know Christopher Bell or whomever said that quote Thomas said, but I mean, you know, it for fans that had some high hopes for this package, and I was guilty of it. I had a lot of high hopes for it. It was disappointing, and I mean, and Bubba came over the radio. It was like whatever the hardest thing you guys could do in life ain't. It ain't got nothing on trying to pass at Phoenix. That was his quote. And then Truex came over the radio and was like, he can't effing pass in these cars. So I mean, I was like, oh my goodness. But Thomas, you mentioned tire fall off, and Harvick mentioned in the booth multiple times that tires played a really, really crucial role in that, and we saw that with Truex when he pitted, coming from like 20th back up, then finishing second. I meant 7th. So I mean, it just I say any hope that NASCAR fans had for any short track package in 2024 is kind of vanished in a sense, I guess. But in my opinion, I wouldn't say necessarily vanished. I just think it's more the track. I think it's more Phoenix than, let's say, Martinsville or something like that. But you know, I don't know. And then Keselowski came on and was like, he doesn't think next gen perfect at all at short tracks, period. He just does not think the car is going to run well there, period. So I'm not sure. Just in my opinion, it just was not a race that it was enjoyable at points, but kind of, I'm gonna put it this way: third stage after the last caution, I think with Logano, I was pretty much checked out.
Yeah, and real quick, just backing up, who said that they didn't think the race it was going to ever race good at short tracks? Was that Brad K?
That was Keselowski, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear that, man. Yeah, you guys are echoing a lot of what I heard. So I didn't even know about Christopher Bell or Keselowski saying any of what I heard. I heard Denny Hamlin say right before the race in the press conference that it was only about a 10% move off of what we had last year.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get your hopes up.
I heard that too.
That.
Yeah.
I heard something about Chase Elliott during practice basically said he wouldn't have known any difference in any of the cars changes from last year to this year when they were running practice or after practice. And then I think I think maybe Denny Hamlin, I haven't listened to his podcast this week, but I think he goes in depth really on a lot of that. But yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head, man. Like it's a lot of just I mean, there was tire fall off that was better than last year, I guess, for Phoenix because tires did matter a little bit on cautions. But yeah, man, it was kind of just a ho hum disappointment of a race for that new quote unquote short track package and that new diffuser and all the tire and everything. It just didn't really land, in my opinion. And I mean, the race was probably the most boring race of the four.
Yeah.
And you guys thought,
as Thomas would say, a snooze fest.
yeah. And you guys
Yep.
thought last week was boring. I get that because if your driver, if they're not dominating, then it's kind of boring. If you're not, I mean, I like watching other little things throughout the race and stuff, but it definitely wasn't the first 2 weeks of the season. So, yeah, I mean, there's just a bunch of weird things about this race too. I noted, like, what's wrong with Hendrick, man? I mean, they're 2 races in a row where they're not really running great at the track where they host the championship finale, and that concerns me as a Hendrick Motorsports fan. Like,
oh yeah,
2 races they don't got it figured out. What are your thoughts on that, boys? I mean, are we going to wave the white flag in the 40th anniversary yet about Hendrick winning the championship, or are we just thinking, it's too early?
I mean, Byron and Elliott were the best 2 cars all day, and they ran top 5, top 10, and they finished 18th and 19th. And I think Bowman was 20th. I mean, I don't know. Now, I do think strategy played in somewhere in that last cycle, but they literally could not even pass. And I mean, they couldn't even pass Gilliland, who was out there forever and who needed to come into pit in a, I wouldn't say much worse car, but I'm sure Hendrick was much faster than Gilliland all day. And I mean, I wouldn't wave the white flag quite yet, but I would definitely, if I'm, the 9, the 5, 24, 48's crew chiefs and Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick and Jeff Andrews, I'm like, hey, what can we do to keep this momentum for the entire race? Or what can we do as a team to keep this momentum going? Because we saw, next thing you know, end of the race, Larson was up in the top 10, and then the two best Hendrick cars ended up back there in the top 15, 20.
Yeah. Thomas, what you think, man?
I really don't have much more to add on top of what Kaleb said. I mean, I also think it is a little too early to give up, but I mean, there's a reason I didn't pick a Hendrick driver to win the championship this season. I mean, I don't know. It is too early to give up, but something needs to change for sure. I'm not quite sure what that is, but something does need to change.
Yeah, and it's just concerning, I guess I would say. I mean, it's hard to fathom that they would show up, in November and a third race where they're just they're not quite Hendrick-like, right? Especially for that big championship finale. Well, that's why we watch, man. We'll see, but hopefully they can get it figured out. I mean, leading into that, I mean, Toyota was strong yesterday, and then, I mean, I think we saw them pretty much running the show for the most part. If it wasn't Christopher Bell, it was Tyler Reddick. If it wasn't Tyler Reddick, it was Denny Hamlin.
That's right.
I mean, shoot, even the Legacy car was running good. That 43 was running good.
Yeah,
Don't even get me started on that 42, man. That guy, he needs to watch out. I mean, he's run into a lot of things these first 4 races. I wasn't sure about that pick for that car. I don't know if there could have been some other drivers, but Jimmy, I guess, had his eye on John Hunter Nemechek. So, I mean, he's in there.
After that contact, Joey kind of called him out. Was like, he needs to man up a little bit. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, and we talked about it on the pod before. Joey was pretty gracious getting ran slap over yesterday. I don't know if he has any more equity, and I would not be surprised if we get on like a Bristol or a Martinsville in these next couple of weeks and watch that 22 just happen to lose it a little bit and bump into that 42. But we'll see.
So I know you brought up. So I know you mentioned this before, and I think we were texting. So do you think that Fords and Chevys will dominate mile and a halves, and Toyota will continue to dominate short tracks? That is my question to the both of you.
Yeah. I mean, give me a few more races before I declare that. I think I just think Toyota's going to be. I think Toyota's going to figure their car out faster than Ford is, and I think it's not just the short tracks. I mean, I'm worried about Toyota. Period. And I think Ford has a little bit of work cut out for him. I don't know why, but I actually thought the Dark Horse Mustang was going to tear things up. Especially obviously in the super speedways and the drafting tracks, but. I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. I think it'll be ebbs and flows. I think Thomas, what are your thoughts, man?
I think give me through Martinsville. Give me some time to make that decision. But I mean, from what we've seen so far in the season, it's certainly looking that way. But once we get a few more short tracks in, we can really make that decision. I feel like.
Yeah, and talking about Toyota, man, I thought about this yesterday. You know how I've been all in on Denny Hamlin winning this year and last year, but when Christopher Bell, when he's on, man, he could probably be Denny's biggest threat to winning the championship because that's a car in the same shop. That dude is so underrated, man. That team is so underrated that if they got in the playoffs deep with the 11. I don't know, man. If I was Denny, I kind of be more worried about Christopher Bell because he's getting the same stuff, and they, when he figures stuff out, it's scary.
No, you're wrong on that one. The JGR cars ran different setups at Phoenix this weekend.
Really?
This past weekend. Yes.
Well, when I say, I guess when I say they have the same stuff, I mean just they have access to the same.
Oh, okay.
Stuff. Yeah. I'm not really. I don't know, man. When I saw him go around and spin talking about the 11,
yeah,
I started to think about myself like, man, if he got here in the championship floor, what could go wrong, right? I did cross my mind a little bit, so I'm still all in, man. I'm still all in with the 11, but
really okay.
I mean, you talk about JGR cars having speed. What about Ty Gibbs? He was fast.
Oh yeah, 100%. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, you're right. Ty Gibbs was God, he we'll get to this later, but I think it's just a matter of time before he gets his win this year, and it looks like it's coming sooner than later.
So I guess my next question is, I'm gonna throw this to both of you guys. So how many wins does Christopher Bell get on the season?
Thomas?
I'm gonna say 3. I'm gonna say 3 races. I think it's not too much, and I think 3 is a respectable number. I mean, I can't justify going any more than that.
Okay. Well, because he's already got 1, I'll say he'll get 3 more, and I'll go with 4. I'll say at least 4.
It's about the same amount as I got. I said about 3-4 this season, especially after looking at how he ran yesterday. I really think he's gonna be a threat to a lot of these tracks coming up.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well let's go ahead and put this thing on the race meter. Thomas, go ahead and kick us off, man. What are you giving the Phoenix Spring Race?
I'll give it a 5. I mean, that's even that seems kind of generous, honestly. But
yeah,
I'll just say 5.
Okay.
Thomas, you took the words right out of my mouth. You said you were feeling generous, so I'm gonna be a little bit more generous and go $1 up than yours, and I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay. Yeah, boys, I'm gonna actually stay with Thomas at 5, man. It just was kind of if 5 is like the definition on a scale of 1 to 10 of an average race. That's kind of what that was for me. And I don't want to, part of me wants to score it a 4, but that's just I'm kind of mad about this short track package that I was so excited about being a dud, to be honest. But yeah, I'll give it a 5. So, all right, they can't all be 10s like Atlanta was a couple weeks ago. So hey, it is what it is. It's part of being a NASCAR fan, right?
That's right.
I was thinking about going to 4, but then I figured I'm going to save those low ratings for later on in the season because I'm sure we're going to have some more snooze fest races coming up in the future. So I'm going to try to save that. I'm going to save that negativity, and I'm going to save those low ratings, for the future because I know I'm going to have to use them.
Yeah. What's the lowest you think you would go on an absolute dud? Like you were not entertained. You feel like it was a 4-hour waste of time. Are you going to 2, something like that?
Probably 2 or 3, honestly.
2?
I mean, I could see, situations lining up where it's so miserable and just disgusting that I would have to go 2 or 3. I mean, there's definitely scenarios where that's definitely justifiable.
It's gonna be at a race that we're at, and Larson's gonna lap half the field, have a 15-second lead,
0.
sweep the stages.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. I'm gonna already be in the truck on the way home if that's happening. I'm not even gonna stay to watch the finish. I'm going, leaving.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You telling me if we go to a race together and you got the 5 car sweeping the first and second stage, your butt's in the truck headed down the interstate on stage 3.
Beat the traffic. I mean, it depends who's behind them and how close they are.
Oh my goodness! I feel like we're getting a Bristol preview at the moment.
Well, I tell you one thing. I mean, if Larson wins at Bristol, I'm not going to be mad. I will be mad if I drive 4 hours one way and see John Hunter Nemechek win. Now that'll be something. Now I'll be ill about that for sure.
So, that brings up an interesting question, guys. Do you guys hate it when obscure win like that happens? Like, I don't know. Obviously, I thought AJ Allmendinger winning the Roval last year was a bit obscure, but hey, I was happy for him. And I'm here for that kind of stuff. I have seen Joe Nemechek win a race at Rockingham.
Good Lord.
And I've also seen Johnny Benson in the 10. I can't remember. It was a Valvoline scheme, I think. Or anyway, it was the number 10 car. I've seen Johnny Benson and Joe Nemechek win at Rockingham. So and Joe Nemechek was in the 33, I believe. So those are probably the 2 most obscure wins I've seen. But anyways, I'm here for those obscure wins. But does that kind of bother you? Like if you show up in like a what if Noah Gragson gets his first win? Because I think that'd be kind of cool, but you probably wouldn't be down.
Gragson, I mean, I'm a big fan of Gragson, so if he won, I'd be very happy. That to me, that wouldn't be an obscure win. But going back to what you said about the Roval, AJ Allmendinger is an obscure win in my opinion. And when he won the race, I was a little bit irritated because I wanted Byron to grow a pair and get up there and pass him, but it didn't happen. But in the days and weeks following the Roval, it grew on me, and I was happy that he won. But it took some time. I was a little irritated, but after it was all said and done, I was happy that AJ Allmendinger won that race. He deserved it for sure.
Yeah, that's another one. Same one because that's a track I feel like Chase definitely could have won if the cards fell into play. And
he won the second stage.
Huh?
He won the second stage, I think, wasn't it?
He won something that season. Yeah, he did.
No, he was blistering the second stage. Now I thought he was gonna win. I ain't gonna lie.
And but then after that happened, and I was kind of rooting for Kyle Busch, not only because Jacob was there, and
forgot about that.
Yeah, so I was kind of biased. I was like, Allmendinger's jumping restarts, no one's catching it. I was like, what's going on? But I mean, it was cool. This was a cool moment that happened, but I kind of wish it was a different driver. Seeing Austin Dillon win the Coke 600. I mean, it was cool seeing the 3 in victory lane, but I mean, let's be honest. When is Austin Dillon going to win another 600?
Ooh.
I mean, that's one of those one and done moments that's probably never going to happen again.
Wow.
And speaking of one and dones, Cindric at Daytona.
Oh, I was there for that.
So you wouldn't count down as an obscure win?
No, because
after fencing his teammate.
I know Blaney was mad. Bubba was right there for that win. I thought I was gonna get to see Bubba's first Daytona 500, to be honest, but no, I'm not, because I want to say that is the first time a true rookie has won the 500. Even Trevor Bayne had some races the prior year where I don't think he was labeled a rookie.
Yeah.
I have to go back and fact check myself on that, but I want to say that was the only time a true labeled NASCAR rookie won it. But anyway, no, it was cool. It just to see the two, get a Daytona 500. That was cool too. But anyways, I'm okay with those types of races. I mean, Ricky Craven at Darlington back in 2003 would have been an obscure win, but look how that turned out. So,
yeah.
And when to me is still the greatest finish of all time, and I think it saved Darlington from being on this schedule, man. I really do. I think that there was talk about Darlington going by the wayside there for a while, and they lost the race and all that, and I think it kept them relevant just enough. So thanks to Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch for that finish. But no, I just wanted to throw that out there, man. And
yeah,
I
have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So this is talking about Darlington. But were you there when Sterling Marlin won in 2002? I think. Were you there for that one?
No, I wasn't. No. That's a cool win if Diecast if you can find it, but
yeah.
But no, I wasn't there for that one. I was there in 2003 for Terry Labonte's last win. It was the last at the time. It was the last Southern 500 in around Labor Day before they moved. They got one date and they pushed it to the spring, and it was a mess. But that was a cool one. It was just super hot. That's probably the hottest races I've ever been to. But yeah, no, that was good. It's kind of, I guess we all kind of derailed on some of that a little bit, but that's what it's all about, man. All right, Thomas, we got our race meter in. I'm ready to move on, buddy.
All right, so for tonight's trackside chatter, we are 4 races into this season, and I want to assess Chase Elliott's performance so far. What's wrong and what's been good, and are you worried about it or are you hopeful? And Kaleb, I know you have some strong opinions on this, so I'm gonna kick it to you first and hear what you have to say. So, what do you think?
I think you should kick it to Gene, and I'm just gonna go last on this one.
Oh man!
All right, go ahead.
All right, well, I'll keep mine short then because I want to hear what Kaleb has to say now.
Yeah, me too.
Well, just to sum up my feelings on it, I want to pull for Chase, and I want him to rebound so bad that I'm kind of like, I find myself at various times throughout any race that's been the last 4 races, like stepping back and saying, am I being just too rah-rah or optimistic, or is like there's something going on? Like, and then, you hear little things like, he didn't really necessarily talk to Alan Gustafson on the radio at the end of last night's race. And then he's kind of quiet on the radio at times, which I think that's better now with his new spotter. But I don't know, man. Like, I hate to say this, and I'll just leave it at this because this is going to be controversial to even say in front of Kaleb. Caleb's going to throw something at the screen when I say it. But, like, think about this, boys. Chase Elliott has won 18 races in the NASCAR Cup Series. He has 1 championship. If he wins 7 more races and hits 25, and he wins a Daytona 500 out of one of those 7, that's pretty much, to me, going to be in his 20 gazillion in a row most popular driver awards. That's going to put him in the Hall of Fame just on that, I think. Now, I wonder if Chase, sometimes thinks things like, I don't know, subconsciously. I don't think he does this consciously, but what's motivating him? Is he does he feel like he's made it? I mean, he pretty much has, in my opinion, in a way, but I just see a lot of greatness in him that I don't know what's going on or why he's not at this current juncture in the NASCAR history, how he's not necessarily fulfilling that. And we can point to the injury. Somebody said on the newscast, or I'm sorry, the racecast the other day, how he had a little bit of somebody was saying, one of his teammates, that he's building his confidence back up. So that's at least a reason and a valid one at that. But I go back and forth. I'm more not worried than I am worried, but there's these little twinges throughout a race that make me worry a little bit. I guess is all I'm gonna say, and I'll kick it to Kaleb.
So, as I guess you could say, diehard Chase fan on this podcast here, I'm not necessarily panicking. It's still early in the season, still a lot of work that needs to be done. I don't think the injury still bothers him. I don't think suspension still bothers. I think all that's still in the past. I think he's got over that. I think it's a driver crew chief issue. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's a driver crew chief. I mean, yesterday we had a top 5, top 10 car, in my opinion. I was very delusional at the fact I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna be optimistic. We're gonna go in here and win this. We're gonna go to Phoenix. We're gonna win. And I think we could have if we just got the lead. And it seemed like Clean Air was the winner in the race off pit road. And it was a point where Chase's pit crew even gained him like 3 or 4 spots on pit road where he was back up in the top 5. So I don't know about it because it was at one point towards that run where after that caution came out and Truex stayed out, I was kind of yelling at TV like, hey, let's stay out. Let's see what happens, because we saw how long Gilliland stayed out and how much it benefited him. And we saw Truex stay out, and he came and pitted for tires, and he was rolling through the field on new tires. And then next thing you know, crew chief comes on the radio and is like, hey, a lot of people are going to run out of gas. And like, no one ran out of gas. And like, nobody really pitted. And we were stuck in 19th and still lost to the person that pitted and came in for tires and fuel. So I don't know. It's not necessarily panic. I think Trey Poole he's been a real fire under Chase in a bit. I do think aggression is something that he could pick up a little bit more. I think he does need to be aggressive, because I think I've seen, it's 2 points of it, I think. And both Twitter and Facebook kind of pointed these out. His restarts. That's something, and I sent out a tweet about this. It kind of reminded me of the 2016 and 2017 years of him. I don't just lacking on restarts. If he wasn't up on, like Trey was like, hey, get aggressive and get up on the wheel. And Chase is just like, all right. And then he goes and look on his onboard, and cars are like ahead of him. And then I know he was trying to be aggressive, and seems like points he got the doors blown off of him where he nearly spun and hit, who was it, Gregson or something like that over on the Goodyear shot. But if I had to change anything, I'm sitting there in a team meeting tomorrow at Hendrick Motorsports, like, hey, what I'm looking at Jeff Andrews, Jeff Gordon, AG, Rick Hendrick. I'm like, hey, what are you guys going to give me that I can go up there and run with Byron and Larson? What are you guys going to give me like I had from 2018 up to 2022? That's what I'm thinking. And then if I'm Chase, I'm like, okay, how can I be more aggressive on my restarts where I'm not getting my doors blown off and dropping spots? So I wouldn't necessarily say panic, but not necessarily worried at all, because it is real early in the season. I'm kind of like Thomas. Give me Bristol and give me Martinsville to see how we run, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. And before I hit with Thomas, I just wanted 2 things while you were talking I just thought of that I didn't think about. So could he possibly be frustrated with Alan Gustafson over the last several years of, and I'm not trying to pit them against each other by any means, but like,
right.
We pointed to it last week, how there was there's been a couple of times where mistakes have been made, and it hasn't been made on the steering wheel inside the car. 2020 Coke 600 we talked about Watkins Glen in 2022. So I'm sorry, 2023 Watkins Glen. But anyways, there's been some mistakes, and that kind of may fracture a relationship over time a little bit. And then the other thing I thought about, which I don't think this is true, by the way, but it just had me thinking, is how dominant he started to get in that Gen 6 car. And maybe he's still trying to catch up with obviously the injuries and stuff doesn't help, but trying to still catch up to that, next gen platform. But that's the only two things, Thomas, I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm gonna add on to what you said as well, Thomas. I'm gonna let you get your words out, but no, I mean, I definitely think the injury and suspension that really killed the morale of the whole team. Because I mean, we saw it at Indy Road Course, with if cars fell into play and he outpitted McDowell, boom, he wins in the playoffs. If he would have won Daytona right there with right before the finish of it, boom, he's in the playoffs. He nearly ran Roval. So I'm not saying the speed isn't there. I just think in some situations, I do think Chase could be a bit more aggressive. And then it's some situations where I think, AG, I understand you want to try to make some adjustments, but in some points, I just think you can't. Because, I mean, we went through it with Jeff Gordon and AG, and, AG and Jeff Gordon, they butted heads and, and whatnot. So that's where I definitely think that's where Chase and AG are at right now. I think they're just trying to get back to where they were. But if I'm Chase in the meeting tomorrow at Hendrick, I'm like, look, let's try this though. I'm putting a bug in Jeff Andrews' ear. I'm putting a bug in Jeff Gordon's ear. I'm like, look, maybe let's try a crew chief swap. Just one race, just see how it works out. Or let's put Cole Pern up on the box. Let's give him a call and see how he does with it.
And I got one more thing, but I'm going to do it after Thomas because I ain't going to do you like that again, but it's your turn. It's your turn. I got one more thing, though.
I really don't have a whole lot to add other than, I like Kaleb's idea about like a possible crew chief change, like just to test the waters and see how it is. And to me personally, I remember when Kaleb originally went, he said something about how he thinks the suspension and the injury is behind him. Me personally, I think that's still weighing on him a bit. And it's causing him maybe to not care as much or not push himself as much as he should be. And I think it's going to take a win for that fire to be relit under him and for him to, realize that, that he can still do it and that he, should be performing. I mean, he's in Hendrick equipment. He's top tier equipment. There's no reason he should be doing what he's doing. And I still think last season is still weighing on him. I mean, hadn't been too long ago, although it is a new season. It hasn't been that long ago. And I think it's going to take a win for him to really get that fire back in him. But that's really all I got for this. I mean, you guys really discussed it all. I think that I don't think there's really much more to add.
Well, I do have one thing I want to ask two Chase Elliott fans on this podcast. And I want you to answer honest because, I mean, I don't know that it gets talked about a lot. But what are your thoughts on, like, is it time for Chase to buy him a residence or a condo or something here in the Charlotte area? Instead of going back to Dawsonville every week and doing web meetings or whatever into the Hendrick meetings, maybe that also affects the cohesiveness of the team chemistry, because that's what we're talking about here, fellas. I think we're talking about something with the team chemistry has been off, and maybe it was before the injury and suspension, but now it's been magnified based on that, right, and coming back from that. So I don't know. I guess what I want to ask as Chase Elliott fans, are y'all concerned that he doesn't kind of maintain a stronger presence here in Charlotte where Hendrick Motorsports is? I don't know. I guess that's what I was wanting to ask you.
I mean, because I thought about this before. I didn't even know he did the web meetings until like one of those specials aired, like where they were documenting Hendrick, and he came over the phone and was like, well, over the web thing, and was like, hey, this is what happened. So yeah, I definitely think he at least take a day out and come to Charlotte and like, hey, if we can do these meetings on whatever day, and I just come out to Charlotte post race, or after we get done with this track that's close by, I'll just stay in Charlotte. I'm sure he could crash with any of the teammates if he wanted to. So I definitely think that has a lot to play into that for sure.
I hadn't really thought of that before. That was a really good point that you brought up about the team cohesiveness. But I think him living in Dawsonville really allows him to be able to disconnect from everything. And I think that's one of the things that he enjoys doing is kind of staying away from like the big Charlotte's big racing. There's race fans everywhere, and I think that there's a possibility that him in Georgia allows him to disconnect a little bit. Although he is very famous and very popular in Georgia. I mean, there's race fans there too, but I think it allows him to disconnect from work a little bit more. I don't know if I don't know if this makes sense or not, but I don't know. But.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough question. I like what you're hitting on, Thomas, is for his own well-being, right, and his own personality and his own mental well-being, mental health, whatever you want to call it. Maybe that's what he feels like he has to do. It might be one of these things where, as he gets older, he might change his mind on that or something. As the years tick off in his career, I think the sense of urgency is going to become greater to want to achieve, even if I think it's there. I'm not one of these guys that thinks Chase is so aloof that he doesn't care about winning, right? I'm not that guy. I was just saying, like, there's just a couple of things I think when we talk about and you put it all together, it kind of comes to this, well, this is why we're here, right? It's Alan Gustafson messing up a few times too many. It's the lack of cohesiveness from a physical perspective of being there at Hendrick Motorsports. It is coming back from dominating, well, I just say really getting after it in the Gen 6 right before the Gen 6's conclusion in, 2020. I mean, I'm sorry, 2021. But, he was up there. He had established himself as one of the guys to beat every week, right? So it's just a lot of a perfect storm, I think, to get us to this point.
Yeah. And like you say, I think Trey Poole coming on was a really good addition to him. And definitely at the Clash, he seems more comfortable. I think he talks to Trey more than he talks on the radio as it is. And, after the race yesterday, he didn't say anything. He didn't really congratulate the team. So I definitely think frustration just came in and he knew, like, hey, I had a top 5, top 10 car, and, it would have been a good point today. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if we go to, I wouldn't be surprised if we go to Bristol, Martinsville, or Coda to see him qualify again in the top 10. And then like you say, potentially race good like he has been doing at these 3 tracks. So,
yeah,
we'll see. Now, come playoff time, if it's still going on, then that's when I think I would, more closer to playoff time with these races that's coming up. And if we have these multiple winners like we've been having over the past few years, then I would say there's a time to panic and time to make some moves somewhere. You guys got anything else to add about Bill Elliott Jr.?
I don't think so. I mean, other than the fact that you made a good point about how he's going to qualify good at these tracks and then end up top 25.
Exactly. I think that's the frustrating part, because it's we have a good car and then it's somehow we end up in the back. Being the 4th best Hendrick car, and Larson's up there.
Winning every race.
Exactly.
And it's like when we qualified 3rd for Phoenix, I saw that and I got a little glimmer of hope. I was like, we might actually be able to pull this off. And then once the race is over, we're around 20th. I was like, of course, I don't know why I got excited. And it's like, Hendrick, Larson's winning every race. It's frustrating to me, but
I'll be honest, Thomas. I'll be honest, as a Larson fan, this whole weekend up until the 3rd stage, I thought Larson had the worst Hendrick car in the stable. He wasn't running good, and then somehow gets a finish out of it, so to speak, right? And I think that's what's frustrating. Like, for any takeaway teammates, takeaway whatever driver, when you watch your driver and in your heart that they have a better car and they get a lesser finish, that is frustrating. That's got to be frustrating even a million times fold to the team and the driver themselves. But as a fan, you're just like, man, I know that he had a top 10 car. I know he had a top 5 car. We're sitting here at 19th. That is frustrating.
Where did Larson finish yesterday? I don't remember.
God.
Knife, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I got to look it up now because it's kind of, I stopped watching his race and kind of focused in on the Toyota so much because I was so worried. But where did he go here? I'm gonna look it up, fellas, because I want to say it was slightly outside the top 10, but I think it was in the top 10 now that you mentioned it. 14th. There we go. Yeah, it was just outside.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad considering where he was running. I mean, he kind of started that race, just dropped to the back like carrying some lead or something. But yeah, you just get the best finish you can. That's that. Sometimes when you're not running good, that's a silver lining right there. But anyway,
yeah, with Larson being able to get that decent of a finish, given how he was running all day, really speaks volume of the crew chief and how some are better than others. And I think Cliff Daniels is a great crew chief, and I think that showed tremendously yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I give a little credit to the wheelman now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna take it from Larson. Larson's very talented, and so is Chase Elliott. But I don't know.
Well, to your point, though, I say that you can have the most talented driver or the most talented crew chief, but if they don't, I mean, it's got to be that chemistry thing. It goes back to that team chemistry, and there's times I know Jeff Gordon was the best driver in that field. Like, I'll give you one. 1999, Jeff Gordon was the best driver on that track every week. But that was the kind of the beginning of the end of Gordon and Evernham. Evernham had his eye on other things, and you had Robert Yates Racing's number 88 team with Dale Jarrett, and I believe it was Todd Parrott, I think. They were like a well-oiled machine. They had stolen some of the Rainbow Warriors over that 88 team, by the way. I don't know if y'all knew that. But anyway, it was team chemistry that won that 1999 championship.
That's right.
Followed by the 2000 Daytona 500. They were on a roll, man.
That's right. You're right.
But anyways.
But, it's all part of it. We saw it with Gordon and Jimmy all those years, and the infamous 7 times low upset quote. So, or 4 time at the time. So, hey, is what it is.
Hey.
Well, guys, we're going to dive into our Speedway spectacle here. And, we are headed to Bristol Motor Speedway, Bristol, Tennessee this weekend. And let's give our Bristol preview picks. What are we expecting? Who's going to get the pole? Who's going to qualify good? And who's going to win the race? And who's going to take home that Food City 500 trophy? Gene, I'm going to kick it to you.
All right. Well, the only thing that's got me excited about Bristol and Martinsville after watching this Phoenix race and this new package is that they were good races last fall in the playoffs. Bristol night race was a good race, and the Martinsville playoff race was a good race. So I'm not going to get too down just yet on Bristol. I think it's going to race well. I think
I got to add something to your point. I don't think they're running the diffusers at Bristol. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that'll be good. But I do think Toyota's finding speed at these short tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and say that, they're going to show up fast again. I'm going to say that for the pole, he beat your favorite driver again. I'm going to say Denny Hamlin is going to get back-to-back poles in Phoenix and Bristol. But for my pick, a lot can happen in the Thunder Valley, man, and you just don't never know until you know. I'm going to say William Byron gets his first Bristol win at the Food City 500, boys, and we're going to be there for it. So I'm going to be 2 races in person this year, and I'm going to see William Byron win twice. That's what I got.
So we guys talk about the Toyotas being fast at Bristol. I'm going to go on the Ford bandwagon this weekend. I think the Fords are going to be strong. I don't know, just something about it. I think the Fords are going to be strong. And for the pole, I'm going to go Joey Logano gets the pole at Bristol.
Mr. Spider-Man glove.
And then for the winner, I'm going to go Ryan Blaney.
All right. YRB. I like it. Well, I'm going to stick with the Toyotas this weekend. I mean, my heart wants to see the 9 get another win at Bristol. That was the All-Star race. But for my pole winner, I'm going with Martin Truex Jr. as the pole winner. And for my race winner, I'm going with Gene, your pole winner, I'm going with Denny Hamlin getting the win at Bristol. I think last week kind of upset him. He had that race. Think he's gonna have that race, and hey, I think he's gonna get it done at Bristol and put a good old butt whipping like he did when we were there in the fall. So I'm going with Truex for the pole and Mr. Denny Hamlin on winning the Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah. Now, he promised his dad he was retiring. I beat your favorite driver, but I think if he won the Food City 500 and goes back to back at Bristol, I think he's almost got to say it again.
I'll let you send Denny's dad that tweet or send Denny that tweet.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard not to say it if he does it. I'm gonna tell you because you know how they booed him, man. It's gonna be on.
Exactly.
Goodness.
Should be a good one. So what are any other long shots? I do have Eric Jones on my radar and Christopher Bell again as well. So I'm definitely I'm thinking Eric Jones as a sleeper.
Well, I like that one. That's a good one. Man, I don't have really a sleeper per se, but man, I would say, watch Christopher Buescher or Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher. He'll be a sleeper for me.
For a sleeper, I'm going to go Bubba Wallace in the Toyota.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Toyotas are fast. I mean, it could happen for sure.
Yeah. I got one for you for Bubba. Did y'all see, obviously in North Carolina today, sports book betting opened up.
That's right.
So all the BetMGMs and the Caesar sports books and the.
Did you put your $100 in?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I might have linked my accounts though from Vegas to North Carolina, but we do have the ACC tournament and March Madness coming right around the corner, so you might want to think about that, boys. But anyway, especially with y'all's teams being in, mine's going to be sitting there trying to get an NIT bid or something. I don't know.
Yeah, at least me and Kaleb have something to look forward to come basketball postseason.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. So the NC State girls had a 4-point loss in the ACC tournament yesterday. So I guess I'm pulling for ACC women's basketball now. That's who I'm relegated to, fellas. But yeah, no, I'll just say that Greg Olson, famous tight end, Carolina Panther Hall of Famer, Greg Olson, and Hall of Fame broadcaster, in my opinion. He's one of the best. I hate Tom Brady snaked him out of his job. But anyway, he laid his first bet down in North Carolina today. Do you know what he bet?
I indeed do. And he did it at the Hall of Fame.
Okay, so you go ahead and spoil it for me, man. What did he do?
Mr. Greg Olson put a $100 bet on the number 23 of Bubba Wallace winning the NASCAR Cup Series Championship in this year of 2024 on March 11th, 2024.
Yeah. And you know what that's a heck of a lot better than doing?
What's that?
It's a heck of a lot better than putting $100 at plus 25,000 odds on the Carolina Panthers to win the 2020 the February 2025 Super Bowl. Anybody in North Carolina, if you put that bet down, just know you're throwing your money away. Even my daughters know that because I was asking them today. I said, should I put 100 on the Panthers? It's like a $25,000 payout. They said, Dad, don't do that. You're just going to throw away $100. And I said, you know what? You're right. But I thought that was cool that Greg Olson made that bet, man. And kudos to y'all for knowing that. So, all right. Yeah, I don't have anything other. I'm gonna say Chris Buescher, and I think William Byron still gets it done though, and Denny sits on the pole, and we'll see what happens, boys. But we'll be there to see it. That's the good part.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I'm gonna move on to fuel for thought here. To start down the road of wrapping things up for this episode. But I had a question I posed to y'all kind of as a joke earlier this week. I think it's relevant. And I want to ask you something, and we never got into it. But I want to know who you think out of the drivers I'm getting ready to name, the 8 drivers I'm getting ready to name, I want to know who you think gets their first win first in 2024. Y'all ready for this list? All right.
Bring it on.
Number 1, Carson Hocevar. Number 2, Noah Gragson. Number 3, Stacking Pennies, Corey LaJoy. Number 4, the new hack, John Hunter Nemechek. I'm sorry, man. You wrecked 2 people in 3 weeks. I'm gonna call you a hack now. I'm sorry. Number 5, Hendersonville, Tennessee's own Josh Berry. Number 6, Priest Lightning, Ryan Priest. Number 7, Harrison Burton. And number 8, front rows, Todd Gilliland. And these are all 8 drivers have never won in the NASCAR Cup Series. Who do y'all think is going to be the first of those names to get their first win in 2024?
It's fun. Well, I got to start off with something because this is funny to. It's not funny, but it was pretty funny when I saw it. Someone put out a little quote on Reddit or Twitter or something, and it said, "If you would have told me that Harrison Burton wasn't racing yesterday, I would have believed you."
Oh, God, that is the ultimate disrespect because it's just apathy at that point. No, it's like I don't hate you, I don't love you. I just didn't know you were there.
No, yeah, I just found it. It said you could tell me Harrison Burton wasn't racing today, and I'd believe you. They were like, "This has to be the final year of the Harrison Burton experiment, right?" Question mark.
God. Oh my goodness!
I gotta put out a disclaimer. Thomas, what were you saying?
I mean, they have a point.
Look,
look at every race this season. Hasn't he wrecked out every race this season?
Ooh, he might have. Yeah, I think so. I have to go back and look, but I think so.
I gotta throw out.
I feel bad for him.
I gotta throw out if Harrison Burton was not racing in last year at Phoenix, Harvick would have got his last win and 10th career win at Phoenix. Phoenix last year.
I forgot about that. I was so mad.
Wow,
with
Kaleb.
like 5 or 6 to go. Yeah.
Man, you're right.
I forgot all about that.
I did too. Good call.
Would have been potentially his last win and getting the record number 10 wins at Phoenix.
Man. All right. Well, Thomas, what of those names, who are you gonna say is gonna get their first dub?
No, you ain't gonna say Harrison Burton.
That's a no. So when I saw the list, there was really 2 drivers that I was trying to pick between. So I'm just for the number 1 pick that I have here that's going to win their first race. I'm going to go with Ryan Priest.
Priest Lightning.
I just feel like he's going to win. I mean, just something about that. I mean, do you me go ahead and say who I have second, or do you?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I have Gragson second. So Priest and Gragson were the 2 I was trying to decide between, and overall I went with Priest. I think that's the safer bet in my opinion.
Man, I like that. I like that.
So, to follow you, Thomas, I actually have not John Hunter Nemechek. What am I doing? I have Josh Berry. I was looking at JHN that was right above Berry, but yeah, I have Josh Berry. No hate to John Hunter Nemechek by no means, but I just see Josh Berry breaking that mold, and then Ronnie Childers putting him in victory lane. And I'd say second to that, I'm sticking with my pick that I had at the beginning of the season. I'm saying Mr. Carson Hocevar picks up his first win of the season and being the best Spire car on the circuit and on the team right now in Cup. So I'm sticking with those 2 going in.
Gotcha. Those are all those are great picks. I'm not mad at any of them. I'd struggle with this one, man. That's kind of why I put it to y'all. I kind of struggle with this one because I've gone back and forth ever since this question popped into my head. But I'm going to say, and it really changed. I'll be honest with you. So for me, it was going to be one of the Spire cars. So Hocevar or LaJoy, whichever one could catch lightning in a bottle for a week, and put it all together. That was going to be mine. But I watched Noah Gragson, and I'm telling you, man, he's there's something about him. I think Thomas is picking up on it too. So I'm going to say that it's either going to be Corey LaJoie or Noah Gragson. And I'm going to say my pick would be Corey LaJoie. I want it to be more than probably it's anything about him running right now, but hopefully he'll put it together one of these regular season races and get him a dub, man. And but Gragson is definitely we kind of that was a late signing in the offseason, and not everything was put together on that. We kind of didn't have a whole lot of info or hope on that deal, but he's definitely running good, man. So it's going to be interesting.
I see.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of timestamp this and kind of revisit that when any one of these names wins this year.
Right.
Because boy, let it be Harrison Burton, and boy, we're gonna have to go do an apology episode, man.
I'm gonna go up to Stewart, Virginia myself, and then probably give him a hug and tell him I apologize for my comments.
Hey, yeah, listen. Or it wasn't even your comments; it was that guy that flamed him on social media. God. Yeah, that was rough, man. That's tough, but all right. Well, that was a funny fuel for thought, but all right, man. Well, let's getting up into the second hour, so at the 1 hour and 6 minute mark, I'm gonna go ahead and get into our outro real quick. Boys, do y'all have anything before we wrap up episode 11?
Yeah, this is Diecast related, but I just wanted to put out there that the Kevin Harvick Budweiser Liquid Elite has been pushed back to March 28th. March 28th. I saw that right before we started this podcast, and I was like, I've been waiting. I've been checking my email like multiple times the past couple of days, thinking there was going to be an early shipment notification for the 12th, but it got moved to the 28th. I just wanted to put that out there.
I was waiting for you to see that. I went into Lionel this past weekend, and yeah, I was told that because a lot of people were in there was asking, hoping it was going to be in there shipped in early, but I knew that was, but I didn't want to be the one to be the bearer of bad news to the pod and to the people. So I'm glad social media told that before the public did.
Yeah, I'm glad that I already have mine pre-ordered on the Lionel's website, so I don't have to worry about going in there and getting it. It'll show up on my doorstep eventually.
Yeah. All right, Kaleb, I'm gonna kick it to you before I go. So what you got, man? Anything in the outro?
No, I mean Thomas kind of took it from me, so that's what I was gonna say, honestly. But no, I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, we kind of do our own thing on the notes portion of this, and we want to keep it organic to the listener. So that's why sometimes we're on the same wavelength on things. Well, I saw it pop up, Kaleb, a little early, but I wanted to get y'all first. But I do have a Diecast reveal because it's my turn to host. So I've been saving this one for a couple weeks, Thomas, because I promised you I wouldn't do a Larson one the last time, but I'm looking over here and I've unboxed it for all intents and purposes. So let me get this over to you, man. I was in Daytona. Kaleb and I got some advanced runs of the primary paint schemes for the 5 and the 9, but I was walking around and knew that this advanced run was going to be in Daytona, and they had the merch haulers closed on Saturday because of the rain. So I was like, doggone it, I went up there for nothing. And I'm going to the track, and I'm making a beeline for the Hendrick merch haulers. Luckily, they had 2. And the first one, they were slap out of all 4 drivers' advanced runs of the Martinsville 40th anniversary Ruby Reds. I go to the second merch hauler, and I get the last one because they were out of the 9 and the 24, and they had this last one that was on display. It's the advanced run 1 of 300 Hendrick 40th anniversary HendrickCars.com Kyle Larson. And they had 5 left of the number 48 Alex Bowman, which They might still be up there. You might want to check them out in Bristol. They might still be there. But
I
anyways,
don't want them.
yeah. But I tell you, this is a beautiful scheme. I can't wait.
It
We're going
is.
to see it
It is.
live.
Yeah.
Along with that, Exalta, the Universe cars looking hot, and the Ally cars also. And then I just saw Hendrick on social media. They said that if you go up to the 24 and the 48 shop, they're inside that shop on that circular display when you walk right in. So, Kaleb, we might want to go up there this week and check those out.
Just let me know when.
And I do want to shout out a listener who I got to engage with a little bit on social media. So at Slideways Brad, if you're listening, thank you for responding on social media, and folks that are listening to us. If you want to do that, I'm still navigating my way through the social media interweb process, but I saw that pop up, and he had Tyler Reddick for winning Phoenix, and Tyler Reddick ran good for a minute there. So he definitely knew the Toyotas were going to be strong as well. So thanks for listening at Slideways Brad. Appreciate you, buddy. And the last thing I have on the outro is I wanted to talk about this a little bit last week, but it's probably more fitting this week because F1 started their season 2 weeks ago, and IndyCar started in St. Petersburg on Saturday, I believe it was. And boys, I watched both of these races. The first two F1 races. I'm convinced now Max Verstappen is going to win every race that they run at and win the championship.
He got out everyone, but like what, one?
He's won 9 in a row, dating into last year. So the last 7, I guess, last year. The first race was 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi, the Bahrain GP. He got out to like a 20-something second lead, and everybody was racing for second. And even that was not even really a much of a race. I mean, I guess it was a little bit, but anyways. And then you got the I think it was the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this weekend. Same thing. I mean, he's out to might have been a 12, 13 second lead. I can't even remember. It's so boring. But I don't know why that, other than the crazy, sexy, cool car stuff and the technology and the pageantry of it. I said it before. The racing sucks. He's probably going to win every race this year. But, hey, kudos to him. He's got it figured out. They can basically submit a body style every year. And Red Bull Racing is king of the hill right now. I think is it Sergio Perez, I believe it is his teammate. Anyway, he finished second both weeks. So, anyway, that's how boring that is. But the St. Petersburg IndyCar race was pretty cool. Joseph Newgarden, who won the Indy 500 last year for Penske. And they raced Chevys in IndyCar, but he won that first race. So a little more competitive, a little more exciting to watch, I think, even though Formula One's Formula One, I guess. I guess that's what we're led to believe through Netflix. But the IndyCar race was pretty cool. So I don't know if you guys check some of that out throughout the year. I'm just trying to pay attention a little more to open wheel racing because I don't know. I just kind of like all forms of racing, I guess, but nothing compares to NASCAR Cup Series and the National Series races. I'm just going to tell you, man. I mean, y'all check them out if you want to. I'm not plugging anything, but I'm just telling you, man. We absolutely have the best racing here in NASCAR, and I love it to death. But anyways, I think that's it for me, guys. I think great show, real easy. I feel like we've been talking for like 10 minutes, and we got everything out. But man, I'm gonna kick it to Kaleb one more time until I can learn how to do this. I'm gonna bid a fond farewell to the listeners. I hope everybody has a great week. Kaleb, take us out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As always, we appreciate the listeners. We appreciate those who watch on YouTube. We appreciate those that listen on Spotify. And check us out online and check us out this weekend at Bristol. We'll be in the fan zone hanging out and at the fan zone with Trackside Live with Kenny Wallace and John Roberts and whatnot. So we'll be out there handing out some cards and whatnot. But if you would give us a follow on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter and Instagram. And we'll see you guys next Monday for episode 12 of NASCAR Nuts and Bolts Podcast.